Talk. Yes, I forgot to tell because yeah,
It's a tradition around here.
yeah, yes, exactly. Uh, Retouching a little bit on what my first talk was. It's based on it a little bit, but it's also uh, directed towards another topic, but it's based on the same. It's finding the Buddha mind. When I first started meditating, start doing zazen, it was quite difficult for me to actually sit. I had an idea of what I wanted to accomplish, but didn't know since I started basically on my own. And eventually I found out to do Zazen through Zen Buddhism, but when I started, I had totally no idea what I was doing. And just one day I just heard someone talking about meditation. Someone next to me was talking, and this person gave this other person instructions on how to do it. So I went home and did it. And I did that for some time. Then I actually ended up at a Zen center and I learned. And when I first started doing it, it was difficult, but when I actually started learning the form, the actual Zazen of counting breath, that's when trouble started. I realized how difficult it was for me to be with me. I just realized it was like I found a wall that I couldn't get through. And it was just facing myself. It was just that looking at yourself just against a wall. It's perhaps one of the most difficult things that we can do as meditators, and that's exactly the part that it's always there in front of us, just like every single day. I mean, every single second of the day, we are always facing ourselves. And now sitting down and trying to quiet your mind, that was quite a battle. I remember that some days it would be awesome. I would get just, my mind would somehow calm, but then some days it would be so difficult that I would just to get up. I couldn't even breathe, just trying to face it myself. So after, now that I've been doing it for quite some time, I find that it brings to mind the beginner's mind, how it is important to always keep that beginner's mind, because it doesn't know how much you meditate, how many hours you do, or what you accomplish or not. At the end, those things really don't matter. Really, it's about always emptying ourselves, because if we keep achieving or storing knowledge, it's just basically the same knowledge. Could be good for giving a class, but when it comes to yourself, knowledge itself is not going to help you. You don't actually experiment what you're learning. So knowledge can be just that, knowledge, just more mind playing and just being more the same. So I've realized that it's always important to keep that beginner's mind, always going back to the roots, always just going back and really, once we really not internalize, but we get the meaning of something. Could be a koan, could be a lesson that we need to learn. It's always learning it and then forgetting about it. Just letting it go. Just letting it go so it can actually become part of our daily lives and actually have some, I don't want to say improvement, but just making our lives a little easier and just being, just making our lives having a better time with ourselves, which is what, you know, I guess we all encounter, you know, because when we get up, what is it that you get up and the first thing you're going to encounter is yourself, and the world is going to look exactly as you think it is. That's every morning, you know, we just, the moment we open our eyes, we come into the conscious mind and boom, there it is, the world. And it is exactly as we have determined it's going to be. Rochi talked about it last week, and how the way we think determines exactly the way our reality is. Situations might arise every day because, you know, life is that. Life is just, it's changing, constant changing. Situations are rising. Today is not going to be the same as yesterday, and because, you know, might be an easy day, some days might not be that easy, but it's just what it is. Like I always say, you know, when you get a flat tire, what is it? A flat tire or a problem? So when we get up and we face ourselves, you know, there it is, always our world, and it's the, you know, the Heart Sutra says it. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form, so it's always there, it's always there. And you know, our mind is always looking at form. It might be that even when we're asleep, we're still conscious. The unconscious mind is always there. But we're in this, while asleep, you know, our conscious mind is just in this state which is still thinking. We just don't remember what it is that we're thinking of. But we're still conscious. It's just the mind that, I guess, the brain goes into bypass mode, and then when we wake up, boom, there it is, the world, it arises, and it arises the moment that we open our eyes and we start thinking. It's there, boom, just coming up. So to me, it was quite difficult, but then I through, I guess, painful hours of sitting, not only physically but mentally, eventually I started just doing that, just trying going back to a beginner's mind, trying to just be with it, be with whatever it would be. Even like I said, some days it would be, meditation would be awesome per se, which at least gave me some peace of mind. Sometimes it would be just, I would get up feeling worse. But then that's when I understood that, you know, there's no good or bad. Sitting, it's just sitting. And that's exactly how I started, I guess, going over a little over myself, which is what that's always been, especially when one tends to be, I wouldn't say intellectual or analytical, someone that everything has to be 2 + 2 = 4, and then we want to understand the world through a formula, and sometimes it's, you know, it's 1 + 1 + 1, sometimes it's 0.5 × 8, and it all equals 4. It's just being, or trying to understand the world through our way of thinking, through our form. Is that what determines it? That's what determines how it's going to look. So when I came to the point in which I actually had to either decided, even consciously, well, I'm going to stop meditating because it seems like I'm not going anywhere. But that's exactly when I understood that there was nowhere to go. That it is just that. It's just that. It's just that we always try to get things through a linear thinking, and then we say, okay, I want to meditate. Then when I started learning of Buddhism, and I would say, well, if you meditate, then you're going to get something, and then eventually, you're going to hopefully get some samadhi, and then hopefully, you'll get your Buddha mind, and it was always thinking in my mind. It was always a linear way of thinking, like I'm going to get there someday. So when I started really facing myself, I was okay. What am I going to do? And then that's when I exactly caught that there's really nothing to do except sitting. And it was so liberating. It was so liberating to just sit. And not even, because it would come to the point sometimes that, I have to go and sit. And it was like a task for me. But then when it stops being what it is, I mean, the way it forms in your mind, it's just what it is. And it was just sitting. It was just getting there. And I would say, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes. And I would go, 45, and an hour. And it would go to 3 hours, just sitting. Because it stopped being a task. And it was just being there. And always kept that in mind. I always kept going back to the beginner's mind. Always, like, because I noticed that I started learning, and I would listen to talks, and I was going to the prisons to give talks. And then I noticed that the talks were more like repeating everything that was being said on the talks that I was attending. And not that I didn't feel that I helped somewhat the inmates, but I felt that I wasn't really speaking from it was, I guess, an honest perspective, but it wasn't really from a point or a perspective in which I was just being nothing, just being there with them. It was like I was trying to convey some sort of message, but I felt that it was more like I learned something that I had scripted. So to me, it was like, okay, what am I doing here? What am I doing? What do I have to do? So it always has been going back to the beginner's mind, always going back to it. And it's not easy. It's not easy because, you start learning, and then you want to really know something. But what is there to know? I think, just knowledge is just that. So then while I was getting to that point, I understood, that it was what it was. And then it comes to the point, what is it? When you have thoughts, I was, okay, well, this is what it is now. Thoughts, what are they? I would have positive thoughts, bad thoughts, and I was going back to the same thing, just trying to resolve something from a dualistic perspective. Trying to, okay, these are bad thoughts, these are good thoughts. And it was always a struggle trying to, okay, I shouldn't get mad, I shouldn't do this, and it was always like going either to the left or to the right. So being in the center, it was difficult. But when I really understood that, it took me a while to actually catch that, well, it's a Buddha mind that we're trying to understand or trying to see in ourselves. So the moment when I understood that all thoughts are Buddha mind, good, bad, And again, went back to the beginner's mind. Yes, you know, like this says the instructions for Sazen. Thoughts arise, just let them pass, and you know, just continue. So when I understood that all thoughts, everything that we construct our world as, is just that. Is just we are trying to understand through our own means, but every single thing that goes through our mind is Buddha mind. Every single thought, every single, all we do. It's just the fact that we don't see it is because we have this idea that our Buddha mind is somewhere out there, outside of us. It's something that we have to accomplish, that we have to, of course, we have to sit, meditate, but it's not about accomplishing. It's more of like letting go of our ideas, convictions, opinions, which is what really, really clouds our mind and doesn't let us see that pristine mind that it's always behind. And you know, I've always thought that the truth is always in between your eyes. It's always there because that's how we perceive the world. So if we can actually understand that every single thing that we do is our Buddha mind. It's everything that we process is the Buddha mind. It's just when we stop paying attention or giving importance to the things that we think are bad, eventually they're just going to dissipate. They're just going to melt away. And then behind all our thoughts, behind every single idea, conviction, opinion that we have, it's there. It's just sitting there. It's always there. And just a matter of being patient, being with ourselves. And it's not easy. It's not easy because, like I said, we have to get up and face ourselves and face our world, face our reality. Yeah, so you know, just facing ourselves and embracing everything, embracing life as it comes. It's quite difficult, perhaps, for most of us, because it's you know, we got situations to deal with every day, every second. But it's just that. It's just being there with us, have some empathy for ourselves. And just trusting that behind all this clutter, this confusion, it's there. Our Buddha mind is there. It's just waiting for us to see it, that it's always there. It's a constant. So let's just be with ourselves and accept ourselves as we are and be one with the world.